Hi, I'm recording the results from the first simulation. I'm going to bring up the spreadsheet. Um, so these are the summarization of all the data from every single team. And you can see that the remaining budget, date, resources, cost, and so on down the line. You only see the data for your own team, and so I thought I'd give you a perspective on what I'm seeing. The stuff in red, or I guess whatever highlighted, is what I'll mostly talk about. So let's first talk about this unallocated resources charge over here. Um, Again, you were given a fully loaded team that clearly you don't need everyone. So having huge charges there means you didn't fire people and you paid for them. So this probably won't happen in the team-based simulation, but at the same time, this is really an indication of how to manage your resources. And clearly, folks with high charges here aren't quite understanding the fact that your teams need to be lean, otherwise they cost you. So that's just something to be aware of for about half the teams there with high charges. Again, the low charges just might mean things didn't quite work out the way you'd hope in terms of training or other things, and you wound up with a small penalty for holding people um, too close for a while. So that's what I see on the unallocated resources charge. Sorry. This resources cost is worth mentioning and talking about relative to the baseline data. So again, 51 and a half days, 52 days was the first period. If we started the project on 9/5/17, we would finish the first period on 11/15/17 nominally based on the plan. So a lot of people did well. In fact, most people were within a couple weeks. So I didn't have much to say about the closing date. In fact, everyone's banded nicely there, except for a few. And so the only thing I'm thinking is maybe those with a little bit later dates didn't 100% resource all tasks. Again, if you don't task out at 100% on every resource, on every task, excuse me, if you don't 100% resource every task, tasks will take longer in calendar days. They won't cost you anymore, they'll just take longer. So I don't know if that's happening here with Chips and Williams, or if possibly you just didn't have the right resources assigned. And then the last thing we'll look at are resource costs. Again, the first period baseline data given to you, or you could calculate yourself, would have been just shy of $53,000, assuming that nothing ever goes as budget. I'm figuring under 59 is probably good in the first period, and most people actually are pretty close. So really, even though I've highlighted them, even the over budgets aren't way over budget. No one's more than what? Well, if people are like 10,000 or more over budget, but there's some room in the budget to make those mistakes. So that's understandable. Last thing, I'll be posting a video on scoring that will describe this a little more. Don't freak out about this data here, and really even the ranking. So all this stuff here, it's kind of important, but it really is a measure of you versus your team versus your other people playing the simulation, and it's measuring what? In terms of time, who finished first? Michael finished first on October 17th in this simulation. Who finished last? Chip. 0 for last, 100 for first. Everything's apportioned in between. Cost, a little more complicated, but more or less the same thing. Who had the least amount of error in their budget versus actuals in the first period is also the least cost. After the first period, no, it's not the least cost. You can see that right here. Aaron, you'd think you would have done better since that is the least cost, least total cost. I'm sorry, least total cost in the first period. But after that, it's error. So error budget versus actuals. So good luck on functionality and stakeholder value. Watch the video. Look at my posted information that describes how you score well or not in those areas. You really can, the things that you basically can manage in the simulation well are time and cost. The things you have secondary management skills on, functionality, stakeholder value. So don't spend as much time here as you will here. So that's pretty, let me just show you one more thing. I know this is a long video, but I think it's worth taking a look at. If we went ahead and went to the simulation, I want to see how you can extract some of the data out. Let me go ahead and bring this up. This is the data for everybody, but clicking on this View Microsoft Project Plan is an important thing to do. You can do it in every period. In fact, I actually want to bring it up for period 1. Let's just bring up Ashley's. We'll go to period 1. No, let's go to period 1, and we'll bring up the top scorer here. which is Brian. So we'll bring Brian's up, and so be worth taking a look. So Brian, again, you don't see all this, so but everyone has an option to click on the View Project Plan. We'll bring the plan up, and let me show you some things that you can get out of the plan once you see it. Let me bring the plan into the view here, so you can see what's going on. Um, I'm realizing you may miss some things because of the size of my screen capture, but that's okay. So when you bring it up, of course, anything that's been done has been check marked. So let's go ahead and bring open this thing a little bit. And it actually shows who's been assigned tasks. In fact, it shows the resource assignments on the first set of activities. It's worth adding a couple things here. So summary task, which would be really important if you want to see what was going on. And right now, after the first period, we could predict when this project would be done. So all we do is we click on the Format tab, which you probably didn't see, but you can see this. You click on Project Summary Task. You see how it forced down a top line here? And I'm just double clicking to read it. So if all went well here, this is Brian's. Brian would finish a little early on July 30th if he continues on the same pace. So let's see what the baseline information is. So if we click this, add a new column, and add baseline estimated finish, it actually brings up the plan. So again, this project's due by the plan to be done August 21st. And if we want to see the date for that first period that I showed in the first screen, all we do is we go down to milestone. And the milestone period 1, we should have finished Wednesday, 11:15. And this student finished on the 23rd of October, a couple weeks early, a few weeks early. I'll talk more about early versus late and why you might want to consider things about that in my next video looking over this data. But overall, pretty good for really the whole team. For the whole class, I get a sense people got it the first week, so that's great. So I'm going to end this video now, and you'll be hearing from me throughout the week as I set stuff up for week 3. But this one's worth taking a look at whenever you get a chance. Remember, there are results to process again this week for practice period 2. That would be on Tuesday night. That's all for this video.